My name is Bernard Koku Avle, and I'm the host for the on-air series of the City Business Festival. And my resource person is one of the men who have pioneered the study of marketing. He brings what we call praxis, practitioner insights and research, and a lot of consultation into the field of marketing. He's worked many years as a lecturer and academic. He cut his teeth in the advertising industry with one of Ghana's blue chip advertising companies, and he's consulted for multi-billion projects. He also has an international outlook, doing work in many continents. We're privileged to have Professor Robert Hinson with a presentation on strategic branding. Prof, it is such an honor to have you back on this platform.
It's always a blessing to be here.
You never get tired of talking about branding. And what is a brand, and what is branding, and why are you so fascinated about branding?
Well, branding has a multiplicity of definitions, but the word itself came to life 2,000 years before Christ, and it comes from the Old Norse word to burn. And branding became important because cattle herders wanted to differentiate their flock or their herd of cattle from others. So they had to make a mark on Avle cattle to separate it from Hinson cattle. So that's where the term branding comes from. But branding is more than just a mark. It's a name, it's a term, it's a sign, it's a symbol, it's a design, or a combination of these which are intended to identify the goods and services of one seller or group of sellers and to differentiate them from those of competitors. That's the classic American Marketing Association definition. And branding is manifested in several ways. We can have organizational branding, we can have corporate branding, we can have product branding, we can have nation branding, which is a fairly contentious topic in Ghana. We can have continental branding, we can have regional branding, we can have personal branding. But branding is basically anything you do that seeks to set you apart. And it's useful because everything else would remain a product and not have any particularly distinguishing characteristics if we don't transform that product into a brand.
Okay.
So a brand typically has a consistent group of characteristics, images, and emotions that consumers recall or experience when they think of a specific symbol, product, service, organization, or location. In marketing, we have this famous concept called the evoked set. Now, the evoked set is the sum of, or the aggregation of 2 or 3 brands that enter your mind when you think of a product category.
Okay.
So, for instance, if you say, I'm thirsty, and you want a soft drink, do you remember P-Cola, or do you remember Fanta, or do you remember or Sprite? So, brands are very important because they also have what we call a promise of a bundle of attributes.
Okay.
And these attributes are the ones that make up the brand. Now, a brand is a distinguishing name. I've alluded to that as well. But it's designed to enable customers to identify a product or service which promises specific benefits.
Okay.
Specific benefits. And a powerful brand also enjoys a high level of consumer brand awareness because it transcends beyond geographical boundaries. So you can grow a brand in Ghana and migrate it to the Gambia, to Nigeria, to Sierra Leone, to Uganda, to Tanzania, and to Kenya.
Okay.
So branding gives you a certain seal of approval. People can relate to it. And it's a very common word now. I mean, if you look at the May 26th story on City Business Online, the head of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center was speaking about how he wants to make the GIPC a one-stop shop for investors. And then he said, towards this effort, the agency will be rebranded. It's also another common word as a one-stop shop for investors. So branding has very many manifestations. I'm sure as we go along, we can talk about the different types, what the benefits are, and how branding can be done.
But why is branding so important?
Well, because branding is more than just a product. I mean, when you say something like the Harvard Business School, or you say Warwick Business School, or you say University of Ghana Business School, there's a promise of quality when you say those things. So people will expect a certain basic modicum of quality when a certain brand is mentioned. So a brand really is a promise to perform.
Okay.
So anytime you metamorphose a product or a service to the point where it becomes a brand, it has become more than a product. It has assumed certain peculiar characteristics that makes people want to connect with it. And a brand is also a functional selling proposition and an emotional selling proposition. So when you take a Mercedes-Benz or a Jaguar, you take for granted that this is superior German or British engineering. But there are so many emotional takers from buying a Mercedes or a Jaguar. Emotional satisfaction, social acceptance, prestige, image. You can keep the car for 27 years, probably wouldn't break down. So a good brand is not just a functional selling proposition. It is also an emotional selling proposition. When you get consumers to fall in love with you beyond the functional, then you're on your way to building a good brand, because then they get to choose you over and over and over again. So a powerful brand enjoys a high level of awareness, performance, quality, reputation, and loyalty. So whilst product can easily be copied by competitors, brands can be tremendously unique. And when I discuss customer experience and customer service as well, I keep saying that today, one of the newest paradigms of thinking when it comes to this whole customer service debate is even the issue of branded customer service, which is the fact that we say a Mercedes is a good car, a Peugeot is a good car, a Jaguar is a good car. But the Mercedes customer service should be branded in such a way that it connects with the Mercedes-Benz organizational DNA. So whilst all three car firms must have good customer service, there must still be some unique defining characteristics about the Mercedes service compared to the Jaguar service.
So you can brand a service?
Absolutely. You can absolutely brand a service. And when you think about it, people choose brands the way they choose friends. And services tend to be intangible. So by the time you tell me, Bob, don't go here, or don't fly this airline, or don't go to this amusement park, it's not good quality for your money, that's the end of the story. I probably wouldn't go. So because services tend to be very, very intangible, branding assists people to be able to connect with what they expect to receive, because like I said earlier, a brand is a promise to perform. And I keep telling everybody, I hear this word used very loosely. People say, oh, we are rebranding our products. We are rebranding the subjects in the department. Let's just change this one and make it. And I'm like, wow, do you understand what you're saying when you say you are rebranding something? What it means is that you are reconfiguring the value proposition and saying that when the thing looked like this is what you were to expect. Now that it has become a brand, these are the things to expect, and we commit to deliver on them without fail every time you connect with the brand. And brands also live or die based on what we call customer touch points. So if you are an MTN or a Barclays Bank or a Car Bank or a CTFM, and you have tellers or front desk executives or security personnel who don't understand what your brand is promising, there'll be a disconnect with what the brand is promising and what the organization or human representatives are delivering. That's a major, major problem in Ghana. Because for what it's worth, I find that organizations themselves are not very clear about what the brand promises are. They don't indoctrinate their employees with these brand promises. So there's often a disconnect between what the people are doing as representatives of the brand and what the brand is promising over their heads. It's a major problem.
So let's talk about key branding strategies that organizations or institutions can adopt. And I mean, it doesn't have to be a business. It could be a university, it could be a church, it could be a country. What are some of the key branding strategies that are possible?
So like I spoke to you earlier, brands are good because they are memorable, they are noteworthy, provide you quality, provide you good performance. And then one thing we also need to note is that it helps you to reduce search time. If you enter a supermarket and want to buy a Colgate, that's the end of the story. You don't need to search through 57 toothpaste brands. You get a Colgate and move out of the supermarket. So it's really, really useful for helping you to choose quickly, even for a consumer. Now, branding is manifested in different forms. We can have what we call corporate umbrella branding. We can have family umbrella branding. We can have range branding. We can have individual branding. Now, I'll go through some of these before I tell you other ways by which brands can be manifested. With corporate umbrella branding, the organization and all its products are branded under the same corporate name. So you have Heinz, for instance, and it's manifested in baked beans and
ketchup,
vegetable salad and ketchup and so on and so forth. And that's useful, I guess, because then you don't have to try to decipher what the brand is promising, because the corporate brand itself is endorsed on all the sub-brands and everybody just runs with it. Then we have what we call family umbrella branding, where the organization has a separate brand and also a separate brand for niche products. So you have a Marks and Spencer selling a St. Michael's brand under the corporate Marks and Spencer brand. I guess there are benefits and drawbacks.
So maybe like Unilever with different products.
Okay,
or Procter and Gamble.
That's what we call individual branding, where each product is branded separately
from the organization.
Absolutely.
So the family one is different.
It's different.
Okay.
Even with Unilever, sometimes they try and emboss the products with the Unilever logo to sort of still show what the parentage is like. So you could have the Unilever sitting on top and still have your blue band and things sitting, but all endorsed by
the parent brand.
The parent brand. Now, these organization and product branding regimes are good for organizations as corporate entities.
Okay.
Now, there are other types of branding which are not really organization specific, like for instance, country branding.
Okay.
And in places like South Africa, they take country branding very, very seriously. And it's because when we say we want to industrialize, we want to improve exports, we want to do value addition, we don't want to export raw products anymore. Now, Ben, you need to ask yourself, okay, what is the promise of quality from the country itself? For me to begin to even trust the products and services that come from that country. So there's a blessing in having a very strong, vibrant country brand.
Okay.
With Ghana, brand Ghana has been around for a while, was born when President Atta Mills was president, and I think the jury is out regarding how successful they've been. But if you remember the quote I gave you from May 26, 2017, from the City Business News website, where the CEO of GIPC was saying his vision is to promote GIPC as a strategic partner in Ghana's development drive. And towards this effort, the agency will be rebranded as a one-stop shop for investors. He will not succeed fully if Brand Ghana doesn't work, because Brand Ghana is his umbrella. Brand Ghana is his shelter. So you need a strong, if you like, a country brand shelter in order for all these GIPC type institutions to also work very, very well. So from Ghana Export Promotion to GIPC to all the ancillary agencies that are put together to promote international business for Ghana, Brand Ghana must work very, very well. Then you have continental branding.
Okay.
Sometimes you have regional branding. So you have AU. That's an African brand.
Yeah.
AU, very interesting brand as well. Sometimes I don't know whether it's working or not working, but we have AU, very interesting. And then you have regional blocks that also work. So you have a SADC, so that's peculiar to Southern Africa. You have an ECOWAS, that's peculiar to West. All those are brands, and sometimes I wonder for the life of me whether people who come up with these names and organizations understand that they are issuing a promise to perform, which is what a brand is. Okay. So there are all these configurations. Then recently, one pet subject of mine is also personal branding. Okay. Where people promote and market themselves as brands. Because really, I mean, if you don't position yourself properly, the economic and social winds of life will buffet you.
But must that be conscious? I mean, even if you don't do it,
yes.
Bernard Avle is a brand.
Yes.
Professor Robert Hinson is a brand.
Indeed.
But must personal branding be something you consciously do?
Okay. That is a very interesting question, sir. Okay. So I was going to get to this a little later, but I'll sort of throw it in and maybe discuss it later as well. Brand Avle and Brand Hinson, whether they like it or not, send out communications, send out cues, send out messages about the brand. Okay. So if Brand Avle and Brand Hinson are not managed properly, there might be dissonance between what Brand Hinson wants to achieve and the messages Brand Hinson is sending out. Okay. Same for Brand Avle. So if you've decided, for instance, to be the leading voice in marketing on the continent of Africa, then everything you do online, offline, consciously or inadvertently, should all be geared towards meeting that brand vision. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. As soon as you come alive to what your brand is supposed to achieve at a personal level, you immediately decide what's on brand and what's off brand. So the things that are off brand, you quickly eject out of your life. Things that are on brand, you inculcate and find a profitable way forward. So you need to be clear and aligned. Branding is also about alignment. So if there are things in your life that are detracting from your brand traveling as expeditiously as it could, you need to quickly jettison them from your life so that your brand will grow properly.
Fantastic.
So
I know you come back to this. So let's talk about the elements of branding now.
Okay.
What are they?
Okay, so there are a couple of things you need to watch out for if you're building a good brand. And the first thing is the brand identity. I remember several years ago when I read for the Chartered Marketing Qualification exam, we had a formula, identity equals image plus reputation. So brand identity is brand image plus brand reputation. So at a very basic level, the brand is a recognizable thing. And you need to be careful how people recognize your brand. So things like logos and associated visuals all speak to the brand. So the brand identity is the look and feel.
Okay.
And if you see the swoosh
Nike.
of the Nike logo, you know Nike is around the corner. Look, if you saw Coca-Cola now, you just saw a red background with a white swoosh across, you know Coca-Cola is coming. You don't even need to write the letters Coca and Cola. You know it's around the corner. It will show up very, very soon.
Yes.
That's how recognizable. And when you see Just Do It, you might not even see the swoosh. You know the swoosh is following the Just Do It. That's how identifiable the Nike brand has become in terms of the logo and associated visual. So brand identity is key. Now let me say a quick thing about that, because sometimes I find that you have a huge institution with 40,000 customers, and you're a university, private or public, or you are a polytechnic. Then you find that somehow brand identity is not a major issue. Meanwhile, you have billboards, you have websites, you have this, you have that. And it's amazing. I mean, like, you want to think that your brand identity is your signature call card. So it must be consistent at every touch point. When I discuss these things, I say, look, a service is intangible, and you tangibilize it through your visual identity system.
Okay.
So if your visual identity system is not coherent, what are you doing? I mean, you are creating confusion in the minds of a customer. So brand identity is totally important. Look, brand identity 101. Every organization must have a brand book. A brand book is a corporate identity guide, corporate identity, whatever, that orders the direction of the brand. Okay. So from logos to colors to Pantone references to scale amplifications to color substrates to online and offline deployment, outdoor, below the line, above the line advertising. Everybody who's listening to me this morning, please, if you don't have a brand book, set some money aside and produce one. It is the first step in correcting your brand identity issues. Number 2, brand image. So brand image is the idea of the brand that people have in their minds.
Okay.
And it dictates what they should expect from the brand. So if Rolls-Royce has the image of a luxury car maker, I don't think it should be contemplating making budget cars, even if there's a market for budget cars, because brand image and brand positioning are also closely linked. And brand positioning is the way your product or service or brand is lodged in the mind of a customer relative to competitor brands that work in the same category or market space that you're working in. So if Rolls-Royce has premium customers, they don't want to dilute their image by going to the production of $7,200 vehicles. That's not the market they play in. So you must be very clear about what you call in marketing the STP formula. Your segmentation, your targeting, your positioning. It kicks in here very, 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 very well. And sometimes it's very difficult to change your brand image once it has been formed. So please invest some good dollars and make sure that you're clear at what you're aiming at. So you build a brand image in a conscientious manner.
Fantastic. Positioning
is also, I've alluded to it, and the next thing to watch out for is what we call brand personality. Now, personality is like human beings. So every element of the brand identity, including the color, the logo, the typography, all those things are very important. So you can associate the Pepsi brand with youth, being viral, so look at the kind of models Pepsi uses for the adverts, and you can associate ruggedness with Wrangler. Wrangler is now a brand that actually bestrides many categories, from vehicles to jeans to shirts. Wrangler is supposed to be a rugged, durable brand. So your personality matters. You need to kind of step back and ask yourself, if I were a human being, what 3 adjectives would people normally describe me by? I mean, you need to step aside. Okay, so if my company was a human being and I took 10 random people, okay, and I said, give me 2 or 3 adjectives that describe you. That is what is your personality looks like in simple terms. Brand equity is the next thing that you need to keep an eye on if you are going to excel. And it's the value of the brand, you know, and it includes tangible financial value such as market share, as well as tangible aspects such as the strategic benefits of the brand. And sometimes when you're going to buy a brand, I mean, if you're going to buy Apple, for instance, if you're buying Apple today, you not just be buying the value of the iPhone products, you'll be buying the whole image and acceptance. And so the intangible aspects of a brand sometimes are even more important when you're calculating the brand equity of the brand. So it's not just the sales quality alone, but also the how it's perceived, how it's accepted, and so on and so forth. Brand experience is the next thing. It's the combination of everything that a customer goes through while purchasing or using your brand.
Okay.
I remember several years ago, there was a brand that came into Osu, major African food brand. When the brand arrived, it was very funky, first drive-through, couple of $1 million to set up in Osu. Then, all my friends who worked in Barclays, Standard Chartered Bank, Africa Online, they said, Charlie Bob, we don't like the cho. I said, oh, why are you talking like that? They said, oh, they don't like the food. They don't understand peri-peri sauce, monkey gland sauce. They don't understand all those things. So look, in Ghana, hamburger is bread, beef, onion, tomatoes, mayonnaise, ketchup, finish. So I went back and I told them, sir, please, those are my advertising agencies. I said, sir, please, they don't like the food. Said, no. It's a Pan-African brand. We have a global template. We are going to stay with it. And I said, look, staying with this formula is dangerous. My Ghanaian friends said they don't like the food. They said, no, it's a global brand. I said, no problem. So they stayed with global brand, and then the brand died.
Oh, Lord.
2011, I remember I was in the University of North Texas Business School in Denton. I was speaking to a global marketing class there. And at that time, another major fast food retailer had just come to Ghana. A few weeks or months after arriving, they had introduced shito into the menu because they found that, look, Ghanaians, they like shito, black shito. And it amazed me that that company could adapt. And this one from 13, 14 years ago refused to adapt and therefore died. Look, brand experience is everything. So how does your staff behave? How fast do they deliver? What does the food taste like? Look, when the brand experience is negative, it doesn't matter how many millions of Ghana cedis you spend on advertising, the brand will die. It will fail. It will fail very, very badly. So brand experience for me is one of the key things to look out for.
Okay.
Then we have brand differentiation, brand communication. And brand differentiation just speaks to how the brand will stand out in a crowd. And for this, you need some very innovative marketing communication so that people want to interface your brand, find it special and unique enough to connect to every time. With marketing communication, I need to say one thing. Look, public relations doesn't solve all problems. Advertising doesn't solve all problems. Sales promotion doesn't solve all problems. And personal selling alone gets you all your money. So you need to understand where exactly you are in your brand life cycle so that you choose the most appropriate mix of marketing communication tools to reach your brand goal. So you need to be scientific about these things. Who am I talking to? What competitor pressures am I facing? And what kind of communication tools and platforms will give me the most efficiency for my spend? You see, when it comes to brand communication, efficacy of spend is key. So differentiation and communication are linked. Yes, exactly. So now we have what we call the brand gap. The brand gap is the difference between what a brand promises to deliver in its communication and what it actually does. For its own sake, the gap should not be very high. A successful brand must be able to deliver what it promises. No amount of advertising or content marketing or social media gymnastics can save a bad product. So the brand gap is really, I mean, as much as possible, the brand gap should be very small. There should be increasing congruence between what you promised and what you are delivering. The last thing to look out for is what we call brand extensions. Now, it's a very common thing globally now to have brand extensions. I mean, if you take a brand like Gillette, Caterpillar, spans several different products. I remember the days when Royco was very popular. You had Royco ginger, Royco shrimp, Royco this, Royco that. Brand extensions happen in one of two ways. We have what we call line extensions and category extensions. With line extensions, you extend the brand in the same original product category. So from Royco shrimp, you go to Royco beef, to Royco chicken, to Royco. It's the same category. With category extensions, we move from Caterpillar earth moving equipment into Caterpillar shoes, into Caterpillar jeans, into Caterpillar notebooks, Caterpillar bags, Caterpillar pens. Now, depending on whether or not you want to do line or category extensions, you need to fundamentally weigh the strength of the core brand.
Okay.
If the core brand is not too strong, I don't look, let's say you're a business school and you are doing well, but not well enough to open 15 branches across Ghana. I wouldn't advise you to go and open 15 branches because you might not have the capacity to sustain the brand in all the 15 outlets. And like I told you, the brand gap must be small. Okay. So if you overextend yourself, you can dilute and destroy the brand because you didn't calculate the brand extensions. So line extensions themselves are problematic if you don't watch it. As for category extensions, you must have superior brand capacity before you attempt it. Because migrating from one category to another can be a very Herculean task.
Let's now talk about Ghana. So it appears in Ghana, people are quite iffy about branding. They talk about it, but they don't really do much about it. What questions do you think Ghanaians should answer as we seek to entrench brand practices in this jurisdiction?
Okay, so let me, if you like, give you a 12-point plan.
Okay.
Well, okay. Let me give you a 12-point diagnostic framework, more than a plan, where I'll speak to certain broad headings.
Okay.
And sort of speak to questions that CEOs, brand managers, marketing directors should be agitating their minds with as they seek to grow the brands in their portfolio.
Okay.
So let me start with understanding the consumer. So I think you have to start asking yourself is, do you conduct customer research frequently? Let's say you're head of a department that has 2,000 students coming through and work in a tertiary institution. The question to ask yourself is, what is your departmental brand promising? What is it delivering?
Okay.
What sort of consumer insights are you receiving as the brand develops? So, do you conduct customer research frequently? You sit in a bank with 82 branches. Data relating to customers at the corporate headquarters might be markedly different from data relating to customers in Takrady.
Okay.
So the question to ask is, do you conduct customer research frequently? Do you use different types of research techniques to better understand consumer needs and intentions as they relate to your brand? You need to find out some of these things as well.
Okay.
Then you also need to know, how are people using my products and services? Do you know what problems people encounter when using your products and services? Then I remember one time my good friend Yansaku, in his Unilever days when he was marketing director, told me that, look, while statistics and things are good, sometimes you need to travel to Tamale to live there for a while and see how they're using the soap so that you get a first-hand experience. So one thing you need to also check is, have you experienced your brand side by side with your consumers? Because sitting in an air-conditioned room and getting data from research agencies is good for doing trends and analysis and doing projections. But where the rubber meets the road, do you know what your brand is doing? And it's a very real way of sort of tracking what's going on. Do you know what drives brand preferences and insistence within the category you're operating in? Do you know all the reasons why customers switch from your brand to other brands and vice versa? These are the sort of things to look out for when we talk about understanding your consumer. Now, let me pose a few questions relating to understanding the competition. In terms of the competition, what you need to ask yourself is, have you identified your brand's primary competitors for which market segment your brand operates in?
Okay.
Somebody was speaking to me from the National Accreditation Board about 3 months ago and told me that, look, when it comes to paid up, not paid up, semi-paid up, there are in excess of 180 tertiary institutions in Ghana today. 180. Wow. I was very shocked. And I was thinking, for the life of me, 180 is a lot of tertiary institutions. So the question to ask yourself is, Whether you were the first, the 16th, or the 19th university to be introduced, how special are you today in relation to your competition? You need to ask yourself these questions. Do you thoroughly understand each of your competitors' brand equities, how they are better than you, how you are better than them? Have you conducted a careful analysis of each of your competitors' strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? Do you know where your competitors are most vulnerable? Is there someone responsible for competitive intelligence within your organization? Do you know how loyal your competitors' customers are? Do you know which of their customers are less loyal than others? Do you know why? Does someone in your organization track competitor news and announcements on a daily basis? These are questions to sort of concern yourself with if you are trying to understand the competition. Let's go to brand design. First question to think about is, have you carefully defined your target customer on the following dimensions: demographics, lifestyle, values, attitudes, product usage, buyer behavior? Do you have profound insight into your consumers' values and motivations? Can you articulate your brand's competitive frame of reference? Can you describe the universe within which it operates? Let me be careful to say that I'm a professor in a university. So I don't want your listeners to for a moment think that, oh, this is very academic. No. Believe me, brand building is as academic as it is practical. So if you don't use these sort of parameters to diagnose the health of your brand, you might not do very, very well.
It's a diagnostic tool.
It's a diagnostic tool. So apart from brand design, you might also want to look at brand identity standards and systems.
Okay.
Does your brand have a soul? Is your brand's name suggestive of a key differentiating benefit? Do you have a brand book? I've alluded to that earlier. At the minimum, do you have a visual identity system? Do you have a color that's different from that of your major competitors? All these things are things you need to keep agitating your mind over as you try to build
So now
brand.
talk to us about driving the consumer from awareness to insistence. I think that's a nice continuum.
Absolutely. Awareness doesn't put money in the bank. Insistence, patronage, repeat purchase, that's where the action is. So, I mean, you need to ask yourself, well, was I first to market? Am I top of mind in my product or service category? Am I the only brand that comes to mind because of my primary differentiating benefit? Am I differentiated in at least one highly relevant and compelling way? I remember several years ago, someone at the central bank said, in Ghana, all the bank products are similar. Depending on where it's coming from, it gets a different name. And when you think about it, it's a very, very interesting truth, because if that's all that differentiates the product portfolios from different banks, then they need to sit down, look at the brand, and find some really compelling and relevant differentiators so that the brands will work. Let's go on to brand building on the internet. We are in an electronic age. We're on social media. You need to ask yourself, is your URL your brand name? I mean, it sounds basic, but you need to ask yourself that, because sometimes when we talk about search engine optimization and things like that, you need to be able to be in a situation where your brand can be easily accessed on the internet as well. Does your website reinforce your brand's essence, promise, and personality? This question assumes that you've already defined your brand's essence, promise, and personality. If you haven't, I don't know how this question will even help you. Does your site weave a story about your brand's history, heritage, character, or attitude? Look, excellent brands are also stories well told. So you can't have an excellent brand that has a story that is disconcerted, disjointed, and doesn't add up. So brand building on the internet uses the same discipline that you need offline. Is your website copy concise, factual, and bulletized? Look, if I go to a website where the front page is like a PhD thesis, I probably will leave, because really, I mean, I don't have all the time to decipher the text before I get to the products and the services. These things, they seem trivial, but they are crucial if you want to build a good brand. Do you personalize your website to your site visitors' preferences? Do you feature simple surveys and reviews on your website? Websites sometimes could be the most potent ways of collecting customer data, because somebody who comes to your website may spend 60 seconds or 72 seconds filling a 5-page questionnaire, but will never give you the time of day if you went to the office with a hard copy questionnaire asking them to fill it. So we need to be innovative in those sorts of ways. And the next thing to look at is developing a brand building organization. So the question is, your CEO. Has your CEO himself or herself internalized the brand's essence? Does your CEO live the brand's promises? Does your CEO personally reinforce the brand's intended personality? Look, I learned in level 300, studying sales management, that every chief executive officer is the number one salesperson in the organization. You don't. It's not that something you can opt in or out of. It is your job. So if you are the number one salesperson in your organization, you should mirror the brand, reflect the brand, walk the brand, epitomize the brand, cascade the brand, radiate the brand. You and the brand, you must be one. Because you represent the best example for brand adoption behaviors in relation to the team you lead. So if there's any dissonance between your behavior as CEO and what the brand represents, your team is doomed to fail. The brand will not grow properly. Then, does the CEO have a long-term vision of the brand? Does the CFO, my finance friends, understand that the brand is an important corporate asset? Because otherwise, when it comes to brand investment, I want to advertise enough, all this every day, come and spend money. You are worrying us, So, I mean, these are real issues.
A lot of marketing managers will be applauding you now.
Oh, absolutely.
Because of their endless battles with their finance people.
I'm telling you. So, are there brand evangelists in your organization? Are there brand champions in senior management? Are your employees brand zealous? Are they? You see, that is the part that fascinates me. You see, when you are zealous about the brand, becoming a service champion is very easy because you understand the brand, you know where the brand is going, you know what the brand has promised, so you align all your behaviors with what the brand has promised. It's very, very easy. Then we move to the issue of
integrated brand marketing.
That is it. Yes, integrated brand marketing. Now, the first question to think about with that is, does your brand always speak with one voice to your customers?
Okay.
It's amazing sometimes your billboard says one thing, your radio is saying one thing, your PR is saying one thing. I mean, there's no connection. In fact, I know several companies where they can run a campaign offline, but it's never on their website. And it's like, seriously, if you don't integrate or align, you're in trouble because the name of the game now is integrated marketing communication. So it can't be marketing communication for the sake of it. It must be integrated. Is there cross-functional teamwork in your organization?
Okay.
Are people in the organization working against common goals or for common goals? That's also part of integrating. Now let's move to creating the total brand experience. Have you designed and implemented the total customer experience for your brand? That's a very, very important question to ask. I was working not too long ago with a financial services firm that was mapping the customer journey. I thought it was very, very profound. And we are taking a whole day off to map the customer journey because if you don't understand the critical customer interfaces, you cannot conceivably create the total customer experience for your customer.
Wow.
Does your brand evoke strong positive emotions? I mean, it could be negative as well, but that's not my prayer for you. It should evoke strong positive emotions. Does your brand make people feel good? It's very, very important. There are some brands I'm very happy to associate with, and some I would not like to be caught dead with. Does your brand steadily and consistently build goodwill over time? A brand that doesn't build goodwill over time cannot be increasingly profitable. So you have to build goodwill over time. Next issue is brand research. We all know that what gets measured gets done. So I need to ask you, do you conduct research apart from focus groups? Because focus is very common. Everything is focus groups. When I teach my service marketing class,